So I want to know from you, what attracts you more to the boxing sport as opposed to UFC, where that's what the sport you're involved in and the sport you watch more?
That's actually exactly what I like more about boxing. Is I feel like it's I admire UFC and I admire what they do, because anybody who gets into a combat sport, no matter what it is, I respect you. But what I like about boxing is I think boxing is a cleaner sport, and that's what I like about it. I like the fact that, you know, boxers, there's just a certain type of swag about it, you could say. The ones who do it the way I like, the sweet scientists, the Floyds, even, the Floyd, Andre Ward, Pernell Whitaker, even Canelo, he goes out there, and that's the thing, is boxing can be a brutal sport, but you do it in such a clean way. Like even when Brawner stopped DeMarco and, just battered him and beat him, and it's still exciting and brutal and what, men love to watch, you know what I mean? But at the same time, he did it in such a clean way, and he did it in a technical way, and he picked them apart. That's the type of stuff that I like about boxing. That's why I've always liked boxing.
Dang, okay. That's a good, I like that. It's the sweet science, you can't really duplicate it. I think Canelo is definitely evolving his style, like since the Floyd loss. I think his technique, he's always been a good fighter, but just getting better. Now, I gotta ask you again, I asked you before, Canelo versus Triple G. Are you still picking Triple G?
I was picking Canelo.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Are you still? Are you still picking Canelo over Triple G?
I would still have to say Canelo. I think he's gonna win. I think he's got the tools, and I think that he's got the defense at the same time. People are saying they wonder if he'll be able to take the punches. You know what? I've heard people compare it to Canelo versus Cotto. Like, Cotto's a great fighter. Canelo's a great fighter. Canelo's just too big. I just think Canelo is Cotto doesn't rely much on defense. Cotto relies on his offense. Not saying he's like, Maidana, or like he's not that. But I'm saying Canelo is more of a counter puncher, and I think that's exactly what it's going to take. But that also stays right there, and that also doesn't back up and retreat. And I think that that's what it's going to take to beat Triple G, actually. I think that that's what it's going to take.
Now, I got a question for you. Two big fights coming up, March and May.
Yeah.
Danny Jacobs, who's been training out here, versus Triple G, and then also Canelo versus Chavez Jr. What fight is harder for the A side? Is Canelo's fight versus Chavez at 164.5 harder, or is it Triple G versus Danny Jacobs?
That's a good question.
Power puncher, in shape.
That's a good question.
Who has the harder fight? Canelo moving up, or I guess?
It's very similar. It's very similar. The only thing that makes Canelo's fight a little harder, the A side fight a little harder, is how much weight he's going to be.
Because he's moving, yeah.
You know what I mean? Triple G, at least he's got the even playing field as far as the weight. I think the Triple G versus Danny Jacobs, you can't count Danny Jacobs out at all. Something about the Canelo versus Chavez fight, I just think Chavez isn't going to win because he's not supposed to win. I think that looking at the fight, you can definitely see reasons why. If Chavez is on his game, he can beat Canelo. I would say that too. But Canelo, if you think about it from a business perspective, Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya, they didn't pick Chavez Jr. to lose on Cinco de Mayo. Before the Triple G
the
fight.
cards are in Canelo's favor.
Canelo's fight, you know what I mean? So for that reason, some way the cards are going to be stacked against Chavez. Chavez isn't supposed to win. Chavez is supposed to come in, make a, bring his Mexican fans. Canelo brings his Mexican fans. He's supposed to lose, make Canelo bigger. You know what I mean? So that's what I feel. The reason that I feel that Canelo will win that fight, because he's supposed to.
Now, Triple G versus Jacobs. Did you get a chance to meet Jacobs when he was out here?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. He's been in the gym out here pretty much every day. So, yeah.
Does he look pretty big? He's in shape?
Yeah, he's in great shape already. He's training hard. So, yeah, he's looking good.
Now, that's the #1 and #2 guy at middleweight.
Yeah.
Power versus power. Triple G has a lot of amateur fights and whatnot. Jacobs also has an amateur career. Have you, as a fighter, have you ever been in a situation where you got your bell wrong, where you got hit with a big punch and you're like, oh, wow, and had to recover?
Probably once or twice.
How do you deal with that?
You just, you know what, if you have to not throw any punches for the rest of the round. I've never been so hurt to where I've had to do this myself. If I get rung, maybe my legs buckle just a little bit at that time, and then I was right back to, business. I've never been hurt to the point where I had to, survive. But I do know what to do. You gotta, if you have to get on your bike and move for the rest of the round. Sometimes you're gonna be hurt to where I think the biggest mistake people make when they're hurt like that is trying to throw back. You don't leave yourself open.
See, I could tell you study your game, because it comes to mind, Keith Thurman versus Leonard Bundu.
Yeah.
Or actually, Keith Thurman versus Collazo.
Right.
When Collazo hurt him to the body, and then Thurman just gave up the round.
People gave him slack for that. That's exactly what
But he might have got knocked out if he would have tried to go toe-to-toe.
Don't even throw any punches. You already lost a round, especially if you got dropped. You already lost a round. Don't try and win it. You know what I mean?
I think Floyd Mayweather said that too versus Mosley. Round 2 is out the window.
Floyd's a master of it, because not only does he do that, but he's so good at making it look like he's not even. Guys like Pacquiao, there's some times that he had Floyd hurt, and I think that Floyd actually even Pacquiao backed off on him. I think because Floyd actually made him think that he didn't have him hurt. Everyone can see he's got him hurt, but I think he's just a master of body language and making things look like they're different than what they actually are.
Also making things look easier than what they are, because nobody gets in a Pacquiao fight and makes him land 71 punches.
That's what has to do, it's just the mental game, making everything look easier than what it is. And that's what Floyd does. Even when he's hurt, he smiles, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he says, nope,
nope. It's hard to do, and that's what he does, so that's what I admire.
I think another fight that where your advice made sense is a recent fight, Jermell Charlo versus Julian Williams.
Yeah.
He got up real quick, and then he didn't hold or didn't, you know what I mean? Sometimes you got to do what you have to do to save the round and live to fight another.
Yep, I was at that fight. And
oh, did you?
It was great. Yeah, it was a great show. That was a wild show, but I agree, totally agree. Yeah, he should have. Sometimes you just got to grab, man. And if you come back to win the fight, no one's going to say nothing about it.
So do you like? I think Ward's second half versus Kovalev was like an example where he clearly lost round 2, and then exactly.
He almost tackled Kovalev in that second. When he came out after, I think it was the 3rd round, he got dropped in 2, right? So then he came out and if you notice, he tackled him, and that's something that they teach in here too. If you get hurt, if you have to, tackle him to the ground. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do. Buy time. You know what I mean? It's just you have to. Where people go wrong is they think that they'll never get dropped, so they don't prepare. You got to prepare for getting dropped. People don't want to think in camp like, I'll be dropped. But like what Verge says in here is like, you're going to get dropped, and you got to be prepared for it when it happens. You got to be ready, and you got to know exactly what to do.
Good advice, and I'd like to hear that from a young fighter like yourself, just because, you have to prepare for all scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you work at a building or a school, remember they had little fire drills, and everyone has to know where to go, and you have to know what to do in those clutch situations.
Stops, man. You got to keep everything covered, you know what I mean?
Definitely.